everybody. Very glad to be here with you in your space, coming from my space. I have my lovely cat Luna over here to my left. And you might see my other one walk through here at some point. But this is community class, which is always such a fun time at the studio. This is a very popular class where people come in. Sometimes we have 20 plus people in this 9:30 class. Kids show up with their parents. I've had seniors in chairs. I've had families come in. And people just on their own coming in to community class 9:30 to 10:45 every Saturday. And it's one of those things where everyone's welcome. It doesn't matter your ability or your age, or if it's your first time, or if you're one of the people that helped build that place. Everyone's welcome, and everyone finds that sense of community and togetherness as we move and we breathe. Yoga is a science, and it has so many ways to focus those sciences, that energy. And some people focus in on the breath or the strength or the balance. I tend to focus in on the healing aspect of yoga. When we go into a child's pose, it is a lovely stretch for the body. It is a place to quiet into the mind. It is a place to calm everything down, but it's also a place to heal. And in this time of weirdness, let's call it, quarantine time, 2020, and there's something that happens. I think most people either identify as an introvert or an extrovert, and I know that since I'm an introvert, sometimes I'm very extroverted and wanting to be around people, but typically, most of the time, I'm very, truly introverted. And so in this time where I'm surrounded by people, even the people that I love tremendously, it is a place where I need to set aside time each day to find that place to quiet in. And if you're extroverted and you're stuck inside, it's also horrendous to not have an outlet for all of this energy. And so again, you have to find that patience. And so however you are feeling in this moment or next moment, whether you're introverted or extroverted, today's class, we're going to have a focus of patience. Patience for yourself. If you do have some frustration in your day, this is a time of tremendous unknown and change and upheaval, and the rules change, and this person's focusing on that, and this person's focusing on that, and nobody knows what's actually going on, and so we just have to trust, and we have to find that patience as we don't know. We don't know what tomorrow will bring right now. We don't know what the next hour will bring right now. And so we'll cultivate that patience, and we'll find a softening so that we can just really be in this together and find that place of unity. So we're going to start off in child's pose. Like I said, it is a great place to find a stretch. It's a great place to quiet the mind, but it's also a lovely place to heal, to really allow yourself to quiet into a smaller space, if you will, a smaller universe. So coming over to hands and knees, and if you have a blanket handy, you can always have that at the ready, blanket under the knees. It can really provide some comfort. And if your knees don't want to be bent, please feel free to stretch all the way out onto your belly. Arms can reach forward or back, knees together or wide apart. And just allow yourself to sink in here to a place of quietness. A place where you allow that patience to be cultivated. It is a practice just like anything else.
here, quieting in, start to notice the length of your breath, how long it's taking you to inhale and exhale. Start to notice the length of your spine. Can you stretch any more into your body as you start to relax here? And then really focus into the sound of your breath. Listen to that calming constancy. Stay low in your child's pose. Walk the arms over to the right and sink back through the left hip, creating this space and this extra length, and then return to the sound of your breath, just softening in, becoming more and more interested with what's going on internally. Notice the beat of your heart in your chest or your throat or your wrist. Walking through center. Over to the left with the arms, drop back through the right hip and create space and breathe. Soften your face. Come back through center, child's pose. And if you have an intention or a wish or a prayer that you'd like to bring into your practice, please do so now. We'll take 5 more slow breaths. Listen to the sound. Slowly come up. We'll find tabletop position. Hands right under the shoulders. Fingers spread wide. Let's turn the fingers out just a little bit to create some comfort in the wrists. Knees out as wide as the hips or a little bit wider. And we'll move here into cat-cow. Lengthen out through tailbone to the crown of the head. And 5 breaths here in tabletop before we move. Really feel the weight spread out through all 10 fingers. And take a few open belly breaths into that belly button. And as you exhale, let the belly button hang down toward the earth, releasing any unexpected tension that you're holding in your gut. 2 more breaths. As you inhale, you're really cultivating the fullness, the belly opening, the ribs expanding, the shoulders opening. The exhale, you're relaxing all tension out of the gut, letting the belly soften, and it's as though you're letting the belly hang toward the earth even though you're not moving at all. And let's move here into cat-cow. As you inhale, tailbone lifts, heart lifts. Find that stretch in the spine. This is cow pose. Exhale, curl and round. Press the ground away with the hands, the feet, the shins. Inhale. Belly drops down, heart and hips lift, finding your stretch. Exhale as you curl and round. Listen to the sound of your inhale. The sound of your exhale, eyes closed. Imagining the space that you're opening in your vertebrae. Last two. Last one. Come back, tabletop position. Elbows down to the earth, forearms down to the earth, and let's roll into the wrists and the ankles. Another way. And then wiggle fingers and toes. And then staying forearm tabletop, move here into head, neck, and shoulders. And even open and close your mouth hugely here. Really release and stretch into the hinge joint of your jaw. Wiggle your tongue. Open mouth, exhale. And then shift forward and back here into shoulders and hips, palms pressing into the earth, and feel just this gliding movement here. Inhaling slowly and exhaling fully. And slowly run up. Walking the hands in, and I did not say in the beginning of class, nor do I have one handy, but let's grab a belt or a strap and a blanket if you don't already have one. Well, you can take a second and go and find those things, and I'm gonna ask Jason there to grab me a belt or a strap here. Today's class, as we're cultivating patience, I really want to have a lot of forward folds into it. And so we're going to start off seated forward folds. And the purpose of the blanket is to bring a little bit of height under the hips. The purpose of the strap is to make the arms longer in case you can't quite reach those toes, or if we just want to keep the spine really nice and lifted. So forward folds are typically confronting, if you can believe it. That's why they're so good for cultivating patience, because it's very often in a forward fold that you want to get up out of it, that you want to come up and see what's going on. Even if you're in a class, a live class, and you just continually look up at the teacher instead of concentrating really on the sound of the breath, the length of the breath, and how effective you're breathing. And so one of my favorite things to do in a forward fold class is to check first. Before we do any kind of opening or stretching, just check and see how far forward you can fold, especially into staff pose with your legs nice and hip distance, toes pressing up. You can lift the flesh away from those sit bones so that you can create that nice tall spine. Shoulders relax down. You don't need the strap yet. Just keep your hands at your swell. Let's reach the arms up as high as you can. So arms are long, legs are long, spine is long. From the hips, fold forward and just stop when you have to. Stop and see where the body resists. You might feel it in the backs of the legs, the knees, the hamstrings. You might feel the spine start to curl and round, or the hips get tight.
Notice where you naturally stopped here. Before we have our practice, before we stretch. And then slowly come on up. The reason I like to check that is because it's good to know that our patience has a payoff. And so when we check closer toward the end of class, you'll notice all of the work that you've done, all of that space that you were able to open just with being able to quiet here into these poses and to use the strength of your breath to do so. So let's start to work into our hips, spine, and legs to find our forward fold class. Feet come together, lift the hips up onto that blanket if you're using it. Toes press together and just sway the weight here gently side to side. Let your knees lead the way, if that makes sense. Instead of shifting side to side from the hips, lengthen the knee down and try to create that deeper stretch in the inner thigh. Forward folds open us into the back of the body. We want to spend a little bit of time opening into the front as well. Opening up through the heart. Make sure you're not slumping shoulders. And just move here gently side to side. A few more times. Make sure the knees are leading the way instead of the sit bones. And then knees press out and lift up, flapping your wings, so to speak. Another analogy for this lovely time that we're in. We're all cocooned here, waiting for our wings to spread again. One more breath. Bring stillness into the legs, and now the movement will come from the sit bones and tailbone. Just tuck and rotate a few times. Here, I'll turn to the side so you can see what that looks like. It's a very small movement here at the base of the spine, just curling and rounding. And hopefully you'll feel a little bit of that therapeutic opening into the hip joints themselves and maybe that SI joint too. And then lift tall. Knees together. And find that little bit of height under the hips again if you moved off of your blanket as I did. Feet come out, toes lifting up. And finding your belt here. Just lay it on your lap for a moment. Press into your sit bones and lift up into your shoulders. Find this length in the spine and the legs. Press your left hand to the side. Right arm reaches up. And press over into a side stretch. Open up into the heart. Lift up into the face. Listen to your breath. And a big part of using the breath in yoga practice is on the inhale, you feel the expansion. It's almost as though you're lifting out of the pose, even though you're not. You're just expanding out of the pose. And the exhale, you're sinking in a little bit more, seeing if you can find a deeper stretch. It's each and every time. So come on up, switching sides. Arms go through center. Right hand comes down. Left arm reaches up. Inhale. As you exhale, press over. Expand on the inhale. Stretch on the exhale. Expand on the inhale. Last two. Face soft. Breath obvious in your ears. Press back up, lift to center. And hands come down to your sides. And right leg is going to pull in. Knee out to the side. Sole of the foot in line with the knee or maybe a little closer to the groin. It just depends on how you'll feel folding forward. And you'll have your belt or your strap handy here. I think I know the pair of shorts that Jason took this off of. And you want to have very long arms here. That's why we use the strength. The strap comes around the ball mound of the foot, not into the arch. You want to have a feeling that as you pull the foot toward you, you're still able to flex into that heel and create even more length in the back of that leg. So lifting up here, and forward folds are tricky. This is something I spend a lot of time on because of all of the damage that I deal with in my back, that I'm healing in my back. I really have to watch how I line up. So pressing into the sit bones, lifting into the crown of the head. This is where we melt the belly toward the thighs. It's not that we're folding forward, even though we're moving forward. It's that you're trying to pull the arms so that the belly melts toward the thighs. And then we'll go from there. So inhale, lengthen. From the sit bones, pull yourself forward as though the belly is coming toward the thigh. Not even trying to come forward and down at all yet. Relax into the shoulders. Take a few breaths here. Really powering into the arms, flexing out through the heel, pressing down through the sit bones. You can walk the hands a little closer if you need to. Take another breath, press into the sit bones, expand on the inhale. Exhale, see if belly can come a little closer to the thighs. Shoulders relax, back of the neck lengthens. It's as though the nose is coming toward the ankle, really aiming so that you can keep that length in the back of the neck. One more breath. Expand on the inhale. Listen. Exhale slowly, giving yourself time to release. Slowly lift up, removing the strap from around the left toes. Right knee comes in. Right leg goes out. And we'll switch side. That left knee falls open now. Lifting tall into the sit bones. You want to first line up the spine, reaching the strap around the ball mound, holding onto it with nice long arms. Create that right leg very long on the ground too, pressing down through the knee. Inhale. And as you exhale, use the strength of your arms to pull the belly toward the thigh. Nose toward the ankle. Length in the back of the neck. Eyes can close. Listen to the sound of your breath, and if hands need to move closer to the foot, just make that happen. Stay with the breath, inhaling as you expand. Exhaling, see if you can fold in the belly toward the thigh. Just a little more. Where do you feel this? Lengthen up, removing the strap, setting it aside. Feet come together, bound angle pose, and roll here into the hips again. Tailbone tucks and releases out. Feel the stretch in the chest and shoulders as well, using the hands to pull you forward. Lift up tall here, knees come together. Let's come on over into downward dog. Downward dog is a fantastic forward fold. If you have your socks on, go ahead and take them off, unless you don't mind, or unless they're not slippery. Sometimes socks are a little bit slippery. And then let's take a moment here and stretch a little bit more into our ankles and wrists before we come up into downward dog. So tuck the toes under. If you already came up, go ahead and come down. Tuck the toes under and zhuzh the knees back. Sit back to the heels as much as you can. And then flip your wrists around very carefully, finding that stretch. Palms are pressing in, fingers are stretching wide. And then you can just gently shift the weight here forward and back, holding yourself really aware of those wrists and keeping them safe. And take a few breaths in stillness. And one hand at a time, bring the backs of your wrists to the earth. Notice how you have to hold your weight here. And then maybe the wrists will even walk forward a little bit, or the hands will walk forward a little bit. Feel the fingers stretching. Try to get the thumbs to the earth and stretch forward and back. Here, feel the back of the wrist stretch. Lift up. Come on up into this lifted pose, toes still tucked, and then roll open and closed into the shoulders a few times and those wrists. Notice your breath, inhaling deeply from the belly, into the ribs, into the shoulders. Exhale. And stretch forward first to table. Shoulders relax, ground pressing away. Stretch to plank pose and then lift the hips up. 5 breaths in downward facing dog. Feel free to walk the hands and feet a little closer together or wider apart. Hands actively stretching on the mat. Shoulders actively reaching away from the earth. And add any movement that feels good to you. Downward dog, also a forward fold, any place where you can just close the rest of the world off. Inhale, come forward, plank pose. Exhale, knees down, and then slowly lower all the way to the earth. Tops of the toes, tops of the feet to the earth. Heart lifts, cobra pose. Child's pose, press back. Press the palms up. If it doesn't work for you to keep the arms extended, bring them back behind you, but keep those palms up and take a few breaths here. Listen to the sound of your breath expanding on the inhale. Now expanding into the back of the body. Feel the stretch through the shoulders, the kidneys. The exhale, you're just softening here, allowing the body to stretch. Where are you feeling it? Arms extend forward if they're not already, palms pressing down to the earth. Slowly walk up enough that you can come to tabletop. And then plank. And then downward dog. Hands stay pressing in as they are, shoulders nice and strong.
Lift up to your tiptoes and twist the heels, both heels over to the right, maybe down toward the earth. Then back up through tiptoes, through center, and then over to the left. One more time, come through center. And heels come down to the right, tiptoe through center, and heels to the left. Bring your feet as wide as the mat. Start to walk your hands back, bending into the knees. And bend your knees enough that the hands press firmly into the earth. And sway the weight here side to side. Feet as wide as the mat, hands as wide as the mat. Feel the stretch in the bottoms of the feet and the palm of your hands. Neck relaxed, breathing slow. And then flip the backs of your hands to the earth. Stretch into the wrists. Hands to your shins, lengthen the legs, lengthen the spine, and heel toe the feet in so that they're hip distance. Standing tabletop, lengthen out through the neck, looking down at your toes. Inhale. And as you exhale, fold in. Just see how this forward fold feels to you. And then press through the feet, slowly come on up to stand, reach the arms up. And hands to your heart, Tadasana pose. Feet pressing into the earth, shoulders relaxed. Your arms down. Forward folds. I had said earlier that forward folds are really kind of near and dear to my heart, dealing with scoliosis from childhood and then bulging and widening and degenerating and all kinds of things happening in my discs and vertebrae and spine and a side joint. So forward folds became an art form for me. And one of my favorite cues that I've ever gotten for a forward fold really happened recently. It was within the last 2 months, I would say, that I was in a class and the teacher invited me to pour my belly toward my thighs. And I had never really thought of a forward fold starting right there at the hips. I always think of it as starting at the back of the body as you curl that tailbone out. I never thought about what happened to the front of the body as I was folding forward. And once I started to do that, the forward fold changed dramatically. And so I invite you here, we're going to practice this a few times. Feet hip distance or wider. And I'm standing to the side to show you how to kind of arrange your spine here. Because as you fold forward, a lot of times we just go straight down and then we get stuck and say, oh, my feet are so far away. But if you take that breath and that patience that we've been cultivating so far, and we're going to use that here as well. So bring your hands to your hips. Feet are pressing in firmly. Legs are firm. Crown of the head reaches up. Tailbone presses down to the earth just to create this lengthening from bottom to top. And starting with a long spine is definitely important when you're coming into a forward fold. If you're already slumping as you fold forward, you'll carry that slump with you. So really concentrate here. How tall are you standing as a skeleton? And then as you start to fold forward, it is a feeling that the tailbone is lengthening out. And you're powering out through the legs. You can even see I lift up my toes. Very powerful in the legs. But have that feeling then that you're pouring the belly toward the thighs. Even if you're nowhere near getting the belly toward the thighs, you're energetically bringing that down.
And then chest comes toward knees. Nose comes towards ankles. Crown of the head comes toward the earth, and back and hands can come to the backs of the legs. Inhale, come to a half lift. Exhale here. Press into the feet, power into the legs, reach the arms up. Hands to your hips, Tadasana pose. Lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Inhale. Tailbone starts to press back, belly starts to fold forward, just practicing here. We'll do this a few times. Belly toward the chest, nose toward the ankles, head toward the ground. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold in again, belly to thighs. All the way up, press through the feet, reach through the arms, stretch. Hands to your hips. Lengthen the tailbone, crown of the head reaches, inhale. Exhale, tailbone presses back, belly floats toward the thighs, head toward the ground. Then let's come all the way up, inhale. Hands to your hips. Exhale, practicing patience here. One more, lift up. Finding your perfect spine, your perfect forward fold from the hips. Fold in and we'll hold here 5 breaths. If your forward fold is somewhere up here, that's fine. Hands can come to your shins. If your forward fold is a little deeper, you can bring the hands to the back of your legs. And as you inhale, you're expanding. As you exhale, see if you can fold in, tailbone lifting up, belly pressing toward the thighs, knees can be slightly bent as you find the space. Half lift, inhale. Then the knees crawl forward, downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Come to tiptoes. Then bring the right heels down, or the heels to the right. Tiptoes. And heels to the left. And tiptoes, inhale. And heels to the right. One more. Inhale. Heels to the left. Back to center, inhale. Exhale, rock forward. Knees come down. Lower down to the earth. Lift your heart. Child's pose, press back. Relax the arms forward or back, your choice. Palms can reach up if you enjoyed that variation. 5 breaths here, expanding as you inhale. Listen to your breath. Soften as you exhale. Listen to the breath. Slowly come up. Tabletop. Plank pose. And downward dog. Bend into your knees. And walk your hands back. Find a forward fold. Heart lifts. And fold. Press through the feet, reach through the arms, stretch it up. Hook your thumbs together. And as you exhale, press over to the left, eyes down. Inhale, come up through center, change your thumbs. And exhale, looking down at the earth, stretch the hips, stretch the side body. Inhale, one more time, each way. Change your thumbs, exhale. Back through center, change your thumbs. And it's one more time. Lift back, hands to your sides. And I'm going to invite you a long ways onto your mat so that you can find a really wide stance. Ankles as wide as the elbows or even wider. If you look out and you draw an imaginary line there, you're nice and wide in your stance, toes going slightly out. Bring your hands to your hips and press into the heels. Well, press into the left heel. Spin the left heel open. Hips come square again. And then from here, just tilt into the hips. That right hip coming up, left hip sinking down. And find length through the spine. Left hand presses to the thigh, right hand to the hip. Open up through the chest here. Both feet pressing firmly in. From here, that right hip is lifting, left hip is tilting, already feeling that stretch in the inner thigh. Arms reach out. Inhale. Glide forward, forward, forward. Left hand to the shin. Right arm reaches up. Don't collapse into the body here. You want to stay nice and lifted in this almost triangle pose. One more breath. Reach the right arm up, arms out, open wide, straighten into the hips, toes come back together and wiggle the hips as arms come down. Right toes open out, heel to arch alignment. Left toes can come forward just a little bit. And the hips here, as we glide into a triangle pose, to begin with, we stretch the hips forward and back and find this lift. We're just finding that lift first. So hands on your hips, feet pressing in. Left hip lifts as right hip sinks. So you get this little jut in your stance here. Left hand opens that hip out. Right hand comes to the thigh, opening that leg out. And then use that pressure of the arms to open up into the heart, into the collarbones. Eyes lifted. Find some mood and energy here. Feeling that stretch in the inner thigh. So working on the connections in the thigh so that when we come into our forward folds, we have that much more space. Press into the feet, reach the arms out. You're already halfway there here. And then stay high in your triangle pose. Don't try to come to the earth. Just stay lifted in the triangle pose, opening through the heart, opening through the collarbones. Eyes can lift. Breathing space, feeling that neck nice and long. Left arm lifts you up, come forward. Hands to your hips, right toes forward, and wiggle the hips again. Oh, wide-legged forward folds tend to be easier and harder all at the same time. So pressing into your feet, you want that same feeling that your long skeleton to begin with, from the legs up into that whole spine. So feet are pressing in. I even like to lift up my toes as I start to come into a forward fold, just to remind myself to keep the legs powerful. Hands to the hips. Lift up through your spine, tailbone pressing down toward the earth and crown of the head nice and long. Inhale. Feet press in, hips press back, and it's still that feeling that you're pressing the belly maybe through the legs now. Even if you come nowhere near, hands can come to the shins or to the earth. Check in with your neck here. So easy to crunch into the neck. Create space between your ears and your shoulders. And we'll take 10 breaths here. Returning to that expansion and softening breath. So the inhale, you're pressing into the legs. The legs are powerful. You're pressing back through the tailbone, lengthening out through the crown of the head, expanding. Exhale, soften. See how your forward fold changes in these 10 breaths. Using patience. And at any time the body starts to resist, you come up and relax, and then melt back in when you can. Five more breaths, expanding and softening. Find your way to a half lift, fingertips to the earth, inhale. Right toes open out, walk the hands over as you exhale, just deepening into a lunge here. Come through center on your inhale, stay long in your spine. Exhale to the other side. Both hands staying to the inside of the legs. And just go through this a few times. Eyes closed, neck quiet. Last side. Come back to center into your half lift. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Hands can come to the earth to help you into your deeper forward fold or to the toes. You can hold on to the big toes with your peace fingers, elbows out to the sides, pulling yourself forward. If any of that is too intense for you, just come up to the place where it's not intense. Using patience. And then slow exhale to open you into the back of the body. Staying in your forward fold, press the feet into the earth and just wiggle the hips gently. Come to your half lift, hands to your shins, inhale, or hands to your hips, sorry. Exhale, fold in just a little. Press through the feet, slowly come up. Keep your hands on your hips. Coming up to a stand, and then heel toe your feet back in. Pedal it up. And then just bend into the knees a few times as well. Come to the top of your mat, feet press in, arms to your sides, nice length in your Tadasana pose. Inhale, reach up from the hips. Exhale, fold forward, belly toward the thighs. Half lift. Step back, downward dog. Pedal it out. Slowly bring knees down to the earth. Right knee starts to slide forward, coming into in front of the leg stretch. This really gets into the ankle of that bent leg. I always call this almost pigeon or reverse wind release pose. Left leg goes back as long as possible. And we're going to fold forward here. It's almost as though it's almost a one-legged child's pose as well. So the ankle and heel, or the heel and sit bone are in line with each other. And maybe you just walk to forearms. Forearms can be quite enough here. You might notice this is a bit of a balance check as well. If it's okay for you, you'll walk all the way forward. Forehead to the earth. And just sink the weight here into that right leg, especially into the right ankle. And then let's tuck left toes under as well and lift up into the knee. Slow breathing. Back up, back in. Left knee bends. I'm going to sit in a kneeling pose. And another side. Back to tabletop. Left knee stays forward, right leg goes back. Before we tuck the toes under, just find that length in the right leg. Just stretching back as far as you can. Check in with the left heel in line with the sit bone. Comfort in that knee. And then start to fold forward, either to your forearms or to your forehead. And then once you're here, if you'd like, you can tuck the toes of that right foot under and lift up into the knee, just creating that little bit of oomph in the back of the right leg, but also it creates a little bit of stability here in this unexpectedly balanced pose. See where you can soften here as you exhale. Expanding as you inhale. And slowly start to lift back up. Find your way back to that kneeling pose. And then let's stretch your legs out for staff pose. Bring some feeling back into those legs. Give them a little shimmy shake. Maybe same with your arms. And we'll come into another series of forward folds, including that final check that we're going to take to see how open we came into the body. But I'd really like to open a little bit more into the front of the body here. If your blanket is handy and you're a little tender kneed, feel free to bring a blanket in right under the knee. We're going to hug the left knee in and then open it out to the side. And then extend that right leg long away from you, already finding a stretch in the inner left thigh. And right hand's going to stretch behind you. A feeling that you're really nice and steady there, because we're going to lift the hips up. So right hand is pressing in, left heel is going to press in, and then that whole right shin and knee and ankle will also press in. So your foundation is going to change here.
Slowly lift the hips up, shifting the weight forward, and then left arm reaches away. Open up to the sky and just feel a little bit of joy here. Stretch into your ribs, stretch into your heart. Inhale. As you exhale, hips down.
Aim the heart toward the left toes, fold in. Lift up just enough to expand into the heart. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, lift up into the heart. If the foot's feeling far away, you can just find the ankle or your strap. Exhale, fold in. One more, lift up. And exhale, pull yourself forward. Slowly come up. Right hand behind you. Last time, lift up, stretch. Look down at the earth this time, but still lift up into the heart. Feel this joy, this openness as you're steady, rock solid. Come back, hips down. Twist toward the left toes. Reach the arms up. We're going to hold here. As you exhale, fold forward. You can use the strap if you'd like. It's a feeling that you're melting the belly down toward the earth, or down toward the thigh. Nose toward the ankle. Crown of the head reaching past the toes. Even if you're nowhere near any of that, it's just that energy going there. And soften here. Listen to your breath. And slowly lift up. Release the strap if you were using it. Right knee comes in, left knee comes in. If you use the blanket one side, you'll bring it to the other. Then that left knee opens out, right leg opens as wide as you can, stretching it away from you, already feeling that stretch in the inner thigh, sit bones pressing in, strap nice and handy, but set aside. And then the left hand comes down. And let's open up with some joy. Press into the heel, press into the knee, lift up through the hips. Look up at the sky for this one. Open the heart, feel the joy. Lower the hips. Aim the heart at the right toes, adjusting as you need to. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, fold in. You can use the strap if you'd like. We're moving through this one. Inhale as you expand. Exhale, see if you can fold in a little deeper. Belly toward thighs, nose toward ankle. Relax your shoulders and jaw. 2 more breaths. And slowly come on up, releasing the strap. Left hand down, hips lift, right arm reaches, looking down this time, lifting up with joy. And slowly bring the hips down, and this time we'll hold. Left heel still hugging in, belly pressing in the direction of the right toes. Inhale as you lengthen, and exhale as you fold in, softening through the back of the neck. You can get rid of the strap if you don't need it anymore. And even here, see if you can cultivate change with your breath and with your patience. Slowly lift back up. Left knee comes in, right knee comes in. And we're going to create that first stretch that we did. We didn't even use our strap there. We were just checking in. If you use that height under the hips the first time, you'll find that again. Toes lift up, knees press down. Press into the sit bones. You can move the flesh out of the way of the sit bones. Lift up through the arms. Legs are long, spine is long, arms are long. Inhale. Melting your belly toward your thighs. Exhale, fold in. See what change you created here. 10 breaths. Turn to this slower place, 5 more slow rounds in this forward fold, our final forward fold. Find some gratitude here, gratitude for you for finding this time. Hands back in. Knees bent. We're going to come down to our backs. You can add your socks back on if you'd like, or sweatshirt. We will be taking our Shavasana soon. Keep your blanket handy if you use it for Shavasana. And then as you're ready, roll down, hugging knees to your chest. And give yourself a little massage here. You don't have to hug the arms, you don't have to use the arms to hug the legs in if that feels too intense for you. You can have the arms resting gently on the earth, but move here slowly side to side. Just massaging into the back of the body. We have a lot of tightness there, and when we spend an entire class opening up, typically you can feel quite a bit of change. So just ground that energy back down. And find stillness and center. Press the small of your back into the earth. And finding happy baby pose, you can hold onto the thighs as the heels lift up. You can reach up and find the ankles, knees bent. Or if it's okay, you'll find the outside edges of your feet, knees pressing down toward the earth, past the rib cage, tailbone pressing in toward the earth, toward the mat. And you can move here gently side to side. Creating a sense of release for those hips. Soles of the feet come together, knees open out, and just move here in upside down butterfly.
palms to the earth. Soles of the feet press in equally to the hips, hips in line with the shoulders, spine arranged down on the earth. And right ankle crosses at the left thigh, flexing through the heel. Pigeon pose, you can stay right here. Or if you'd like, you can hug in. If you'd like, you can reach the fingers through and interlace around the thigh or the shin. And then if it works for your anatomy, a nice little extra stretch is you can use that right elbow to press the right knee away. If you haven't hugged in, you can just use the right hand. And notice here as you're open in the heart and the chest, instead of folding forward, you can still have that sense of expansion and relaxation. So expanding on the inhale, feeling the front of the body lift, creating this space. Exhale, just anchoring you in place, feeling the back of the body sink in. Relax down to the center, left foot, and the right foot to the earth. Left ankle crosses at the right thigh, flexing through the heel. Stay here, or press the knee away, or hug in as you like. Expanding on the inhale, relaxing and softening on the exhale. Two more slow breaths. Right foot to the earth. Unwind. Stretch your arms out to the sides. Walk your feet out as wide as the mat and just roll into a side-to-side twist. Have a few open mouth exhales. Just bringing the knees side to side, feeling the feet press through center, feeling the sacrum and the hips pressing in. And then drop your knees to the right. And turn and look over the left shoulder. Just opening up into the front of the body here, expanding. Listen to your breath. And back through center. Knees left, face right. And back to center. Hug knees to your chest. And then we'll slowly stretch out for Shavasana. You can put your feet up on something or have a bend to your knees if you'd like for comfort. Otherwise, stretch all the way out. You can use a blanket for comfort or something to cover your eyes, especially if you have trouble softening in. Shavasana is a fantastic place to cultivate patience as well. Sometimes it's easier to be busy than it is to be still, and really being able to quiet into the breath and quiet into the body. It takes patience, it takes practice, and it takes that repeated effort. So as you relax here, feel the tension leave your feet and your ankles and your shins. Feel the calves rest into the earth, really release the energy there. Feel the right knee and then the left knee soften. Just slowly anchoring yourself from the bottom to the top. Relax into the right thigh, the quads, the hamstrings. Relax the left thigh, the hamstrings, the quads. Feel your glutes soften, your hips soften. And notice when you do that, you can soften into that belly as well. Feeling the belly button press toward the spine, and the spine press toward the earth. The breath still expanding you, but so slow, so soft. The heart opening and that feeling of utter relaxation through the chest, through the spine, through the shoulders as you relax. The length of your right arm softening. The length of your left arm softening. Relax your jaw, your cheeks, your eyes. Feel the back of your head pressing comfortably to the earth. Just hold this position as your body rests, as your body repairs. into the body. And as you inhale, feel love coming toward you. And as you exhale, send that love back out. Inhale, feel love coming toward you. And exhale, send that love back out. Inhale, love coming toward you, filling you, becoming part of you. Exhale, send it back out to where it's needed. And start to wiggle into fingers and toes, creating movement in the body. Grateful for this day. Grateful for this chance to be alive. Grateful for the lessons that we're learning today and every day. And set your blanket to the side if you were using one. Bend into your knees and turn comfortably to your right side. Take a few breaths there. And come on up into a comfortable seated position, hands at your hearts in that gesture of gratitude and in a gesture of patience today. This class, focusing on patience, good for introverts dealing with the extroverts in their life, and good for extroverts dealing with having to become introverted. So a very, very happy Saturday to you all. Let's end class with a sound of 3 ohms. And again, have that feeling of love coming toward you as you inhale. And as you exhale that sound of Om, really let love infuse your voice, send it back out to your world, to your universe, so that it can come back to you again. Inhale. Om. Thank you for taking the time to take care of yourselves today. Namaste. Very happy Saturday to you all, everybody. Thank you for being here in community, in class, and finding that patience. Truly grateful for this opportunity to still connect with you guys from our home into your home, and just to connect from my heart to yours. Just know that I am continually thinking of all of you and dreaming of the day that we're all back together. Keep the faith, keep the patience, and really try to cultivate love around you so that your home and your life can still be filled with that abundance, even as we cocoon in here. And do a craft, paint a wall, change your life. Paint a wall, do some gardening, plant some tomatoes or something. It's a great time to start the seeds. It's a little early, but hey, what else are we doing? Oh, you guys, so glad to see you all here. And make sure that you share this with whoever might need it. And if you have people in your life who are having trouble getting out of bed today, or in this time, if they're really struggling with overwhelm, with depression, well, you can invite them to call me, but if they want to practice at home, my last Wednesday night class, that Come On, Get Happy, that's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, that really focuses in on tools to help with depression, with anxiety, with panic, in this time of change and unsurety. So you can check it out yourself, or
if you do know somebody who maybe needs those tools right now, please please have them check that out. It's up on YouTube for your convenience whenever you need it. And thank you for continuing to show up. It really does mean a lot to me to know that you guys are tuning in live and that you don't just want those recorded videos, which are coming to have those quick tips. But happy Saturday. Give someone a hug, even if it's your neighbor that you're giving like an air hug to from 6 feet away. Oh, you guys, happy Saturday. Take care.